So a question that a lot of applicants ask me is, what if I get refused, or when can I get refused, and what kind of scenario? So in this case, there's 3 types of scenarios in which you can get a refusal. The first one is if you did not prove your work experience properly. The most important thing in your express entry application is having the right supporting documents for your work experience. If the immigration officer who opens your application is not certain that your occupation is high skilled, if he's not certain that you selected the correct knock code, if he's not certain that your job duties match the knock code properly, or if he sees that your job duties is simply copied from some CRA website or from some job advertisement, he can say that you're not truthful or that your occupation does not meet the requirements of being a skill type O, A, or B, and then he will refuse the application. It's very difficult to appeal this kind of case, so you have to be very careful when you're proving your work experience. Second scenario is if you've made mistakes in your background, personal history questionnaires. Let's say you have included something you never provided before in your previous visas to study permits. Let's say now all of a sudden you're telling the officer that you have some new foreign work experience that you had 5 years ago. They can say that, listen, you didn't include it before and now you're including it. We are not certain that you're providing us with truthful information, and they can refuse you. Or they can refuse you with because you've had criminal inadmissibility or you had medical inadmissibility. The third scenario, and unfortunately it happens very often when someone is applying by themselves, is if an officer makes a mistake. Officers have to go through a lot of applications in a day. So if your application is not organized properly, if your application doesn't have a great cover letter, if it doesn't explain there why you're eligible, what kind of supporting documents you have for all the points that you claimed, an officer can miss something or misunderstand something and refuse you. I have people who came to me and they've been refused because the officer said that, I'm not convinced that your job offer is high skilled, or I'm not convinced that your work experience is high skilled. In that case, I was thankfully able to argue with an officer and the person still got approved. Another case, let's say the officer made a mistake and he said, actually you don't meet the minimum language level, but the person did meet it. So I again was able to help that person. I sent a letter for reconsideration, I explained all the reasonings, and the person got their approval. If only the person worked with me right away, I'm sure they wouldn't have had that issue, because the letter that I provide for my applicants, it's called submission letter, is very, very helpful for these kind of scenarios. So to sum up, there's 3 types of refusals that I see most often happen to my applicants or to other applicants. First is not proper proof of work experience. Second is mistakes in your background questionnaires or medical criminal inadmissibilities. And third is error of an immigration officer. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.